Hello, and welcome to Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us. I am your host and illuminator, Jennifer Carey. Join us on our mission to shine light on the false narratives and limiting beliefs that are holding us back from joy, bliss, and healthy relationships.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us. Today, I have another wonderful guest who has helped me along the way because we cannot illuminate and transform our stories alone. So, I have someone here who is very special in my journey. Even as we've been preparing for this episode, I've been thinking back on all the layers that we peeled through. So I can't wait to dive in and share that journey with everyone and get to hear her side of it. And this is everyone, Lisa Desrosiers. And she is a woman with many gifts. She specifically helped me with shamanic journeying and energy healing. And I met Lisa way back in, I think it was 2008, 2009. She had an office in Davis Square, Somerville. And I reached out to you, Lisa, because I was learning how to do Reiki. And my Reiki master teacher was like, reach out to someone and do an exchange. So I reached out to you as an acupuncturist, and you gave me acupuncture, and I gave you Reiki. And so that's where it's,
I know that
yes,
was so long ago,
it was
back
so
in the
long
early
ago.
days, right?
I
Yeah.
know. But you stayed in my memory, and I remember reaching out to you. I would say like 4 or 5 years later, and asking for an energy healing session. And I remember I was dating, so I feel like it was something around that. But the story I'm going to be sharing today and the journey I'm going to be sharing is a more recent one. In 2021, I reached back out to Lisa, requesting help with some stories that I was bumping up against and feeling really stuck and wanting to break through them. And we had an incredible journey. So thank you, Lisa, for being here so we can share it with
Oh,
everyone.
I'm so happy that you reached out. I mean, it's just really, it's such a great opportunity to talk about like the journey, like kind of from the beginning to the end and what this process was like for you. So that other people can maybe be inspired to, start their own journey or seek out help that might be right for them in their
Yes,
process. So thank you for
exactly.
doing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, in this process of preparing, I know you had asked, like, what made me reach out in addition to like what I just said, that I was bumping up against stories, but was there, like you were saying, a decade later, I was like, no, I need to go to Lisa.
Mhm.
And, I really think it was intuition. I think
Yeah.
I literally felt guided. Maybe it's another one of those. I was just saying this in a episode with my coach, like, when the student's ready, the teacher appears type of thing. Like there was a significant enough impact in our meeting that it just came like, she's who I need to go to for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I asked you that question because I feel like it often does, like it feels like intuition, but it's just sort of this like nudge or this inner knowing that
Yes,
like it's either an action to take or someone to reach out to, but you get something like something is inside that's like, call this person or do that, or you rethink about someone you haven't thought of in a long time, right? And there's like then
that's
there's a
exactly it.
synchronicity. And those are like the little nudges from inside that's like, this is where you need to look. This is where there's something for you.
I love
And
it.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
got goosebumps. I just got
Yeah.
goosebumps. So I am going to specifically talk about the journey in 2021. And again, like I said, I specifically used Lisa for the shamanic and energy healing. There are a bunch of other things that Lisa you do. Maybe before I dive in that, I want to shout out all your gifts. So you're a licensed and board certified acupuncturist, which love acupuncture.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, another amazing healer. Um, Certified energy medicine practitioner. You're a Reiki master. You're a certified professional life coach. and you provide holistic healthcare, healing and personal growth services. You're located in Arlington, Mass, but you also do online services.
Yes, coaching and energy work can be online. Obviously, acupuncture is in person. We need to
That's
do
right.
that one.
That's right.
Do
That's
that
right.
in the
Unless we're doing
office.
it ourselves, which no, we're not
Right.
going to do
Yeah.
that. And then I love that you specialize in women's health,
Mm.
fertility, menopause, pregnancy, pain conditions, emotional health. Yeah. And you help
Right.
women in life transitions and
Yeah, and those, because those are the themes, like that's when a lot of, change comes up, a lot of like inner questioning and, doubts and things when people are going through big transitions, and fertility, pregnancy, and then menopause are like big gateways for women, right? Where their life changes in pretty dramatic ways. And I just
yes.
really am drawn to supporting people through those phases.
That's so cool. I didn't know that, but that's
Mhm.
amazing. And it's so needed. I feel
Yeah.
like those services are so needed. So I could take us down that, but
Yeah.
we won't this
We
time.
won't. Yes. Well,
But I love that you're also an animal Reiki practitioner.
yes, that was my latest addition, like during COVID, like getting really involved with animal Reiki and animal healing. And as you know, specifically horses, I have a real fondness for, and I
Yes.
volunteer in equine Reiki programs. So yeah, that's a whole other avenue of love that I have. But
That's
yeah,
cool. You are
yeah.
such a gifted woman and you bring so much
Oh,
to this
thank
world.
you. It's really just like following, I think of it as like I just follow like my joys, like the things that have like pulled me and called me along, and then it's
Oh,
like things that I wanted to learn more about or that I've needed for my own healing. And then
yes.
I wanted to get more training in. So it evolved, right? We're all on a path and a journey, and we evolve and
That's it.
grow on it. Yeah.
That's it. But you're
Yeah.
listening to the nudges and you're
Yes.
following the nudges
Mhm.
and you're not getting stuck with stories.
Oh, well, we all need help at different times, but
That's
yes,
right. That's
continuing
right.
to evolve.
You're
Right.
continuing to evolve beyond the
Yeah.
stories. Yep.
Yeah.
Which is where I was when I reached out to
Mhm.
you. And, you know, it's, I know that there was a specific session. So I reached out to you because I was having some stories, but there was a specific session that stands out. And then of course we had many. And I didn't realize until I saw your notes that it was our first. I didn't
I
know
think
that.
if we're talking about the same one, yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, just telling all my listeners, I had one of those dark nights of the soul, and then it led into the morning. You know how sometimes you can have a dark night of the soul, but then wake up and feel different? I didn't. I was feeling in a really, really dark, trapped place. And I talk more about this in my book and go into more juicy details, but I'll just leave it at that for now. And I remember texting Lisa, and I wrote this, and I mean this. I wish I could save the text exchange. Um, because I the way you responded was so eloquent. And I remember I just reached out saying, is it safe for me to go and receive this energy and shamanic healing when I am not in a good space? And you were like, that's exactly when
Yes.
it was just so perfect. You were
Yes,
like,
that's exactly when you need it, right?
yes,
Yeah. You don't want to, yeah, you don't have to wait till when you're feeling good and you're feeling better and you feel like, a little more presentable. Like sometimes when you're in that dark place is exactly when you need someone to help you like see the light and shift to a
yes.
different perspective. Yeah. But it's
Oh,
hard. It can be like very vulnerable when you're in that place, right? It can be very vulnerable, feels like a big risk, and so you want, to be working with someone or that you've held this container of safety, right? Where you can be held to really do
yes.
that work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just getting to the surface. If you're not able to really be with what's actually happening, we're only working on that superficial level. And that's only going to give you so much change, right?
That
So
is
much
so
shifting.
true.
Hmm.
That is so true. And so I'm so grateful how you handled that because that was almost a story, right? That I had to be perfect and like at a certain place in order to receive the help, and it was
Yeah.
wonderful. So I show up and I'm in my space of, tear-stained cheeks and whatever else was I brought to you. And I I know that the stories, because I love how you said it was like layer after layer. We saw each other for over 6 months, and each time I came, which I'm really excited to share, and I even have like products of homework I did
Yeah.
on my own afterwards, but to show you what it was like. But I remember they all fell under certain stories, but yet they were all different at the same time. They were all different layers, but I know that the one that I'm thinking of was the idea that if I were to branch out and follow what I'm dreaming about, it was selfish. I was really stuck to this story that like that's not thinking of others first. You're thinking of yourself first. Who are you to do these things? Who are you
Mhm.
to say you should go on stage? Who are you to, there was just a lot of stories like that. And you guided me in an incredible journey where I still can like vaguely see it in my mind's eye. There was like this colorful stream, and I was near the stream, and my father, my deceased father, came to me dressed up as Merlin, which is
Mhm.
so perfect.
Yeah.
And he handed me this like treasure box that had a rose quartz in it, and told me it's okay to be selfish in that specific journey. So I'll show it real quick before we talk about it. I want to also kind of help the listeners understand, a little bit more about that soul language. But this is what I made afterwards. I ran to Michael's and I got a little treasure box and I made this. And look I put Merlin Dad inside, and then
Oh,
I have the rose quartz in there. I still have
you
this. Like,
still have that. That's
still have
amazing.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
Still put it, you know, on my, where I write on my little desk. So thank you for that. That's just one layer.
Right. And yeah, and now that we're talking about it, you're reminding me that no, that wasn't the first session. We did, I think that was a little, I can't,
I know.
this is the thing when we go into this sort of sacred space and this non-ordinary time, like it's not linear, right? So
Exactly.
we're diving in, we're coming back up to the surface, and we're getting just the different information that you need for your next
Yes.
step. So I actually don't remember if that was first or second or third session. Um, but getting to this idea that when we're in this kind of journeying space, it's a little bit of an altered state, a meditative deep state where you can access parts of yourself that you might not be able to access in ordinary, time, space.
Yes.
Um, and you get the information in a way that is meaningful to you, right? It's like your imagery, it's your meaningful imagery, which is why your
Yes.
dad showed up looking like Merlin, because that has some meaning to you, right? And you can make sense
Yes.
of it. And there's a way that you could receive it, right?
Yes.
And in language that worked for you, right? Because for whatever reason, you were struggling with this idea, but it's like going out into the world and sharing, or being on stage or doing this would somehow be selfish. That was just a story and a layer of your sort of barrier to doing that, and so that needed to flip, right? And so your flipping came in that language that was meaningful for you, and for someone else it might come in different language, right? Or they might get a
Yes.
different message, but it's what you needed to then be able to realize, wait, this is actually not selfish of me to want to be singing on stage or
Yeah.
doing, sharing your gifts in a particular way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay to do
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
And I love how you mentioned that these images are the language of our soul.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Right.
it's something else that we can tap into that we we don't when we're just talking, or we don't when we're on that like just
Right.
conscious level. It goes deeper.
Right. It is. It's a different layer. And it's like we're working, yeah, the soul, like the language of the soul. I think we talked about this last week. It's like this is where art is made, and music, right? And visual art. It's like communication. You can, and through words too, maybe poetry or stories and whatnot. But it's talking to this more expansive part of ourself, right? And it's kind of our deepest desires and that part of us that pulls us on our journey in life, right?
Yes.
And it is not logical. It doesn't make sense. It often requires doing nonsensical things, like or going in a direction that isn't actually the most potentially prudent on paper, right? Or that
Yes.
someone else would see makes sense for you, but internally that it is really true for you and makes sense for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I have no doubt in my mind that that was an important part of me taking the next step. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it's okay. My dad, Merlin dad, told me, like, it's okay. I can move forward. And just the rose quartz just signifying love. Like, there's still
Mm-hmm.
love in taking care of myself and following my dreams, which I'm kind of laughing at myself right now. But it is amazing how we will feel stuck in a story that we will then follow.
Right. And this is why we often need something else from outside to shift that perspective. And it could be a
Yes.
person, it can be a book, right? It can be a podcast. There's all
Yes.
kinds of ways now that we receive information that can sort of jig us and be like, oh, wait a minute, I have actually held this belief that's been holding me back, right? And
Yeah,
it's not true. We have all of
exactly.
these layers in the mind and sometimes in the emotional layers that aren't actually true for your highest good.
So I think that takes us to another layer. I remember it was a different session. Again, bumping up against the same stories of, if I were to really, really expand myself and do more than just psychotherapy and write and speak and sing, and that would be full expression of me. That would be using all that I feel drawn to share with this world. But that was frightening.
Mm.
And I remember that time I saw this butterfly. There was like this
Oh, look at
huge
that.
butterfly that came to me, and then this mantra, I live a fully expressed life with clear and healthy
I
boundaries.
remember that. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And I
Uh-huh.
even reading that back, which I ended up making a voice mantra. So when I was working with Mick and Tess and doing the singing, I had a mantra that I sang, that I live a fully expressed life with clear and health boundaries. Nothing stands in my way was another part of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I remember that some of the story of that as well was some of the family stuff and just feeling like if I were to do this, that I may not be able to do that too. And how do I channel my energy and do
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just like that's the fear, right? That somehow like we're limited or what's available to us is limited, right? We do have
Yes.
a lot of story, and some of it's like programming and conditioning from our family of origin. You know this from this like a bit to unwind all of that, right? And then
Yes.
cultural programming and just societal input that we get, and just then our own personal story.
Yep.
And um, and when we do this work, we're tapping into this unlimited supply of right support, energetic support, spiritual support, right? Like your
Yes.
soul doesn't think in limitation, right? Your soul thinks in like dreams. It dreams
Yeah.
like, the whatever, like being on the big stage or sharing your podcast with millions of people. Like that's how the soul doesn't see a limitation for that, but we put those layers on, and it's like this process of like clearing the way so that we can see what is the highest expression, um, because it's the opposite of selfish, because then you're helping more people. The more
Mm.
people you can reach, right? If that's your soul's mission, is to reach more people through these kinds of dialogues, then you need platforms to do that, right? You can't do
Exactly.
that one-on-one, right? That's so
Yes.
it's the opposite of selfish. It's actually helpful as you like expand and step into your fullness, then more people like get to receive that, and then you're bringing in more light, like channeling more light, right? Like being more fully present, sharing more energy with the world, and
Exactly.
which then can go towards your family if you choose, or towards, your relationships, towards anything that you choose.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's it, it's shown me so it's shown me that we when we do follow our dreams and follow what we feel on our hearts is what we're meant to do, right? Or like you said, kind of the purpose, our soul's purpose, or mission. First of all, it's not selfish, right? To just take that word, right? And it has a different, and I haven't settled on it, but it's like, it's like self-aligned or um
Ah,
self-led. It's not, I think the word selfish just somehow gets this,
uh-huh.
it has a bad rap,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
in and of its just own semantics. But when we do align with that, which so often the messaging is others first, right? And we could go into all the reasons for that, but we'll save that for a different podcast episode. But when we are following our soul's purpose, then there is a positive effect on ourselves and everyone around us. And somehow that messaging has gotten, I think, mixed up for a
Mhm.
lot of us.
Right. And that somehow, like I believe if you're following your sort of joy, it's like actually fun and you like it, right? Like
Yes.
it does. Obviously, there's work and structure and things that we need to do to like manifest in the world, right?
Yeah.
But it can also be like planning for this with you has been like a delight, right? Right.
Yay.
And
Yeah.
it can be that, and you're still doing your work, right?
Yes.
Um, and
Exactly.
yes, so it's not, and getting back to this, that image you had with the butterfly, the clear and healthy boundaries, it's not like giving
Yes.
selflessly and draining yourself, right?
Yes.
And yeah, not saying no, or right, not knowing where the boundaries and limits are, but having that, it's that container to do the work in, right? Like
Yes.
your own container of what's like safe and healthy for you so that you can be fully showing up, like your butterfly
Yes.
said, like
Yes.
present and fully like aligned life,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And it doesn't have to be filtered and
Hmm.
restrained in any way. Um, yes. So that was another amazing one. So there's just one more that I thought we'd mention
Okay.
today, and that is another one that I speak more to in my book. I'm trying to think. It had to do, I don't know if you remember, with renovating our kitchen, which seems like such a, privileged problem to share, but it was really deeply rooted for me. Brought up a lot of stuff about feeling a sense of belonging.
Mhm.
And my parents had moved when I was like 18. So I had not felt rooted for all the years that I had just been. There was a lot of stuff. Do you
Yeah.
remember that came
Yeah.
up with
I
that?
do remember. Yeah. And again, that's another, I mean, that's a transformation on the literal physical world, but that's like
Yes.
a metaphor for transformation, like doing a big project like that in your home. You have to deconstruct, you have to plan, right?
Yes.
You have to like make a lot of decisions. I mean, and it's chaotic and it's stressful, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
energy. Yeah. All of these things. And then it has meaning for you in all these other layers, right?
That was it.
What
There
it
were
represented for
so,
you.
oh my God,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many stories that I had associated with it, which I can't even remember if I told you. Have I seen you since it has happened? We have a
I have
new
not
beautiful.
heard.
I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
know I
no,
thought of
I
that.
have. You'll
We
have to
ended up
send me a photo.
I know I'm going to do
Yeah,
that. We
yeah.
ended up having a kind of a DIY, which was perfect because then
Hmm.
I was able to do it in the farmhouse vision that I had dreamed about, another
Yeah,
dream coming
yeah.
true. But man, did I hit stories of worth, stories of belonging, I hit so much, and I talk about it a lot in the book because it was so healing for my husband and I, for, to be
Mm,
able to take a moment and be like, wait, like so many stories that I checked out with him, he was like, that's not what I was thinking at all. But I had like a whole backpack of
yeah,
all the stories.
yeah.
Anyway, but I remember the session that I had with you for that one, and it was just this visualization of this tree, this deeply, like you could
Hmm.
see the roots going way down, like way down into the underworld. And it was just this very, very vivid visualization that just made me find it within myself rather than outside of me. And I remember, I think it was your directive. You said, um, find a picture of a tree and have it in your office or something like that. Well, I did my
I did.
homework
I
and
get to
I'm
see
just going
it.
to move this and hopefully I'm not going to mess it up at all. Can you see it?
Yeah, that is so stunning.
I love it. And whenever
It's
clients are,
it's a mythical tree. That's like
it
a
is.
really mythical, yeah.
It is. It's like kind of got like a fairy like to
Hmm.
it, and it almost looks like there might be like a little fire. I love it so much. When I saw that online, I was like, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
And when clients will compliment it, it's usually where I sit because when clients sit on that side, they can see outside into nature and there's trees.
Hmm.
I'm on the third floor, so it's like I always feel like that's better for them. But it's great for me. And I remember that was, I think, your directive, like putting it in a place that I could always look at. So like I was feeling rooted and
Yeah.
belonging in this earthly plane.
Yes.
But it's funny when clients catch a glance of it, they're like, "Oh my goodness!" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you have no idea. You have no idea. That was a journey. That was a
Oh.
journey with Lisa." Um,
And what I love about the way, like the way that you integrated the work that we do, you said earlier we worked for like 5 or 6 months, but it was like maybe monthly that we would meet. It's not like
yes,
therapy where you meet weekly. And then
yeah,
because in between you're integrating, right? Like what happened in the session, because it happens on this, we talked about this kind of soul level, this energetic level, and it takes some time for it to filter down into sort of your thoughts and your emotions and then your beliefs and then into like what you do differently in the world, right? And I always give people homework, and if they don't, some people follow up and others don't, but the point of the homework is really to help you embody what
yes,
happened, because it's like a dream. We have, like, at nighttime sometimes you have a dream and it's so potent and then it floats away and you actually forget it.
yes,
And same
yeah,
thing with sometimes the work that we do here, because it's on this other level, and you need to find a way to embody it and remember it so that you can use that like as new information, right? And as a new
yes,
beacon, so it doesn't just kind of filter away. And you would ever, I think every single session we did, I would get a text soon after with your art. You did it through creating art, or in
yes,
that case I guess you bought that. You didn't draw that tree, but I would get these texts of like how you went home and maybe journaled or went to Michael's and created that box. And that's you embodying it. Like you took it so seriously, because for
hmm
you, you wanted change.
I
You
did.
weren't coming for like a feel, like to just kind of get some soothing and to feel
Yes,
better. You were in a change process and a transformation process, um, with some big things at stake, with like you showing up fully present in the world. And you were digging in and doing it, right? And we were in here doing the clearing and getting
yes,
those away. And then you were following up. And that's the journey, right? It's like we're talking about needing guides. Like the guides don't do the work. We
yes,
support and hold and create space and help you. I mean, we do, like, obviously with energy work, I am doing things that impact your system, but it's up to you to hold the change, to,
yes,
right, to do
yeah,
something differently once you walk out the door.
that's it.
And whether it's do something or believe something differently or feel differently, but that's all your process. and
Yes,
and you're the result of it, because here you are, right, doing all the things that
doing
you were
all the
dreaming
things.
about on the table, right? You took it from soul language into reality, and that is the process, right?
That
And it
that
can take
is.
time, and it takes different, and things arrive at different times, or they express themselves at different times based, it's not always immediate. Some dreams, like, using, I like to use nature metaphors, but some seeds germinate like really quickly and grow, and others it's a long time, so,
Yes,
but still tending to what those dreams are, those seeds, right, of your sort of inspiration and your
exactly.
soul, continuing to tend to those so that they
Exactly.
will grow and then, right, sprout at the right time,
Yes.
right, when another synchronicity comes, because you have to meet someone else in the future who's going to help, do something with you, and
Yes.
right, and all those
Yeah.
little lights along the path.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like everything is there to support your dreams. Everything is there to support it. But as you're saying, you need to first acknowledge it, right? You need to hear the nudge and say, okay, this brings me joy. This is what I want to follow. And then you're probably going to face the stories, because it's
Yes.
just human nature for us to bump into these beliefs and stories that will want to hold us back for whatever reason, to keep us safe, to protect us, whatever the reasons are. And then that is when I really do feel strongly that we need each other to, and each other's gifts, and to help us. And then there is the showing up that you're saying, that like, okay, so I know Lisa has a gift. I'm feeling drawn to her. I'm gonna go. I have to show up, which that one session I almost didn't.
You almost didn't. Yeah.
Almost didn't. Who knows what would have happened? Like, talk about a crossroad. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it was just
Yes.
such a powerful moment of you
Well, yeah.
saying, come.
But it's also you saying yes. And that's like such an important part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
Is like you said, yes,
Yes.
I'm going to show up
Yeah.
despite the fear, despite the inner turmoil, right? And that is like, that's the beginning of the journey, is like the call to action, the saying yes to something, the making the decision, like you're embarking, right?
Yes.
Showing up,
Exactly.
and you did
Yes. It
it.
did.
Sometimes it's the hardest part.
Yes, it is. It is. It so is. It's amazing the courage it takes, right? The courage to show up, the courage to be vulnerable, the courage. Yeah.
It takes so much, right? And just because you ask doesn't always mean you get a yes right away. Like you might experience this in your practice. People reach out and you can't see them, and you have to say
Yes.
no. And like that took a lot of courage for that person to reach out and say, I need some help. Can you help me? And somehow they pick
Yes.
you or me. And it's like, sorry, I'm not it's not the time.
Yes.
And then so it does take a lot of courage to reach out. And then sometimes you face those, you face the rejection, or you face a wall, you're face something that, no, this isn't the way the path goes, and then you have
Mm-mm.
to look somewhere else. And then
Yep.
it takes more courage, or sort of more commitment, right? I mean,
Yes.
sometimes things unfold, we love it, right, when things unfold gracefully and
Yes.
beautifully, and yeah, and sometimes it just doesn't. You're
Yeah.
clamoring and you're looking, and where's right.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Just how do you keep going? How do you
Mm-hmm.
keep going?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for all that you did for me during that time.
Oh,
The fruits continue to bear.
yeah.
I continue to see the fruits of our time together, and um, I'm just so
Yeah,
grateful. And I thank you for
oh, you're
being a
so
part of
welcome.
today.
I mean, it's really meaningful to work with you, because you were so present for it, and really like willing to go in and claim, right? Claim what you wanted and claim what was
Mm,
yours. And you're so invested in it. And it's like it's so meaningful to me. I mean, this is why I do this. It's so that like,
yes.
I like to help the helpers,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Because you're
That's
doing
right.
such good work in the world. It's so important what you're
Thank you.
doing and the people that you're reaching. And hopefully just from this conversation, people might have some little parts of their soul like stirred up or awakened, reawakened, right?
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
I was thinking that in the beginning, the way it started, how you talked about, the synchronicities and what was it, wasn't it? And I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I wonder if people will hear this podcast and they'll reach out to Lisa. And I'll have all of Lisa's information, links to your website on
Thank you.
our, you know, it- wherever it is in this cyber world.
Mhm.
Like, it will be in the email that goes
Right.
out.
Uh,
Will be
that's
on
so
everything
funny.
like attached to this.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
yes. And I just wanted to say it verbally as well for people who are just listening. It's Lisa at davissquareacupuncture.com. Is that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So
Thank you.
Lisa at davissquareacupuncture.com. But
Yes.
again, I will have the link in here too. So you will be able to find it.
Thank you so much, Jen. This is a really fun conversation.
Oh,
'Cause
it
I
was
don't
so
often
great.
get to have it, because I'm like, I do a lot of one-on-one work. So I'm like in it with
Yes.
people, right? And so to take this time out to like talk about the journey, talk about it after the fact, and like see where you are now compared to where we worked together. It's like inspiring. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know. And I feel like there were so many. We might have to do another one.
Right. We could have I know there's so many side conversations we could have had. But yes.
Exactly. If
But
people have any
time marches on, right?
questions, yeah.
Yes.
People have any questions, send them in. And Lisa and I will do another one and answer your
Sure.
questions.
Yes. Awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so
All right.
much. And thank you,
You're
everybody
welcome. So
listening.
good to see you.
Good
Bye
to see
now.
you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have found any of this inspiring or helpful, please share this episode with a friend. Visit www.jenniferhcarey.com for more information about my psychotherapy and coaching services, as well as upcoming events, workshops, and retreats. Wishing you joy, freedom, and healthy relationships.